And Berkeley was different right away. That's where I found me.
So you were a child actor and you got discovered because you befriended a kid who had low status.
And he was socially awkward, so he got bullied. I didn't like bullying. I kicked for him. They got the ball back in, but he scored. And everybody picked him up. And he got to be the hero.
You were navigating maybe two worlds here. One of your passions was being in the, performing arts department.
As you say, the arts in junior high. The arts were a little bit, where we came from, Berkeley, were a little bit, cats could think you was soft.
We fall down, but we get up.
Welcome back to Hometown Friends. This podcast focuses on the connection between friendship and the places we call home. The experience of having childhood friendships often influences who we become, and the stories we carry often define us. This episode is a great example, as my guest is Hansford Prince, who's an actor in the HBO Emmy-winning series The Pitt. Through our discussion, we see how small moments lead to significant life paths, and how kindness to others and unlikely friendships lead to unexpected experiences. Hansford's character, Earl in The Pitt, is an unhoused elderly man who is often in the emergency room asking the doctors and the staff for a sandwich. We discuss how Hansford created the backstory for Earl and the experiences that helped him bring Earl to life. We not only learn what type of sandwiches Earl prefers, we discuss Earl's psychology and what type of animal he would be if he was one. Through Hansford's story, we learn how children begin to form multiple identities through the friendships that they have, and how having high and or low status during these times affects the relationships that we have. We see that Hansford's hometown identity remains a significant through line through his life and his career. And we see that it's never too late to follow your dreams of doing what you love, as Hansford did with something as difficult as becoming a Hollywood actor. I didn't know Hansford Prince before I invited him to this interview, but I feel like I have another hometown friend. Please enjoy this conversation, and if you do, leave us a comment, like, subscribe, and share with others. Hansford Prince, welcome to the Hometown Friends podcast, my man. So excited to talk to you, get to know you today. Really appreciate your time. Why don't you introduce us to you, man? Tell us about yourself.
I'm actually from Berkeley. Graduated, I'm a class of 80, the famous class of 1980, as they say, I'm an actor now and live in North Hollywood. Right now, I've had a recurring role on a show called The Pitt.
How they treating you, Earl? Huh? So you ran at yourself and had a sandwich?
Feel like I'm watching a rom-com.
So we had this reunion at Berkeley High. I saw you there at that reunion, and lots of people there actually were calling me Earl, the character, instead of Hansford. People I had been knowing since Franklin.
And it's really resonated with folks, hasn't it? And there's a lot of articles about Earl and his character and how you've brought that to life and how important that is to the show. Like, really, people do really love this character, and it's funny, but it's also like, profound and very, very important to the show, it seems.
But you have to go into the body and into the spirit of every character. But I just felt for this character, this unhoused character, that I've really had to be there. I had to go to that place. I had to really be that guy. It really involves going inside of that person and thinking like that person thinks, so that when you're in the moment, you may not know what he's going to do, but he does.
You had to really get familiar with what someone who is unhoused and desperate and surviving had to do so that you could bring this character to life?
In my training as an actor, I worked with an instructor who felt strongly that you should always use an animal as an indicator of your character. And for me, so if Earl was an animal, he would be a feral cat. And a feral cat, even if you feed the cat and the cat trusts you, they're still only going to get so close to you. They're still only going to be so, they still going to be skittish. They still are going to tune if you make a movement too sudden. If you...
What do you think the dominant emotion for Earl is?
Part of it is what I've said to people. His social skills have deteriorated a lot. Have a combination of being, very wary, scared, but also defensive, ready to protect yourself, ready for anything. People see that in Earl, and he has all those things, but the one thing that's in him that he hasn't lost, even if his social skills are awkward, is right underneath all of that stuff is all this love. Because at one point in his life, he was this really loving guy. All this has done that, all this has deteriorated him, but life still hasn't taken that love. So the love resonates and people pick up on it somehow. And it makes them really love this character. Because people start feeling like, he reminds me of my uncle Johnson. He reminds me of my teacher he reminds me of that guy. He reminds people of somebody close to them, of somebody he reminds me of my father. Shit, my father act like me. He would be there, that kind of stuff. I love him. Man, he is, because he's real. She's there, but even in his own way, he's trying to help people.
Because human beings are varied in their experience. And of course, as you said, for Earl, he's had so much trauma, likely, and so much beatdown and so much survival instinct that's hard to come by. And he's surviving. And the idea is that he was loved at some point, and he did love at some point. And then now he's in this situation where he's desperate and making sure that he's surviving. And he's like that feral cat that can never trust other people, even if you are good to him. And Earl is always hungry, and he's always getting a sandwich. And it's funny, but it's also profoundly real about how folks come to hospitals sometimes and need sustenance because they don't have it otherwise. I have one more question about Earl. What is his favorite one? What's his favorite sandwich? Do we know?
How about a sandwich?
What brings you here today, sir?
I'm here for a fucking sandwich.
Okay, excuse me.
Perla?
Perla, can this patient get a sandwich?
I already gave you a sandwich, Earl.
I ain't ate this whole week.
Sure, give him another sandwich. They're on the food cart. Just make sure it's not egg salad or he'll throw it on the floor.
My first day of work, actually, I was like, they haven't supplied me with a backstory. So, what's going on, man? Why is my character even here in the hospital? And how do people know me? And I'm interacting with doctors and nurses who know my name. Why is that? But I guess I'll find out on the first day. I didn't find out shit. Didn't find out anything, man. You kid, we're literally gonna figure this out as we go on, as we start rolling camera. I'm like, no way. So I asked, hey, why am I here? I have an IV. I didn't really get a backstory. So, what's going on? Who am I? They looked at me and were like, you're Earl. I was like, oh, yeah, right. Well, that clears that up. Thank you so much for that.
No, tell me, Hansford, as an actor, I'm guessing that's one of the things that one would do for themselves is create a backstory so that you can be believable in some way. Is that accurate?
Yes. So I spent time at the infamous Herrick Hospital of Oakland. Okay. I spent a little security time there. You know, you were doing those security jobs. So I pulled Highland for, man, I didn't last there a couple of weeks maybe or something like that. I think maybe I was like, I'm not going back to that war zone, especially on Friday and Saturday nights. This Pittsburgh Trauma Medical Center place was, you know, very to me was you know, very similar, relatable to Hyden Hospital emergency room. So I remembered some of those patients and some of those people that came in there. We and so I kind of between that and maybe a couple of people I know, I created this guy Earl, you know, who Earl the Pearl could, you know, could be a Berkeley, Oakland dude. He just happened to be a cat in Pittsburgh. What got me too was the attention to detail of the fans of this show is amazing. My God. But I was because of that, like what you're talking about, sustenance. So Earl is a survivor, man. You know, he's unhoused probably, so people are surviving. So if you get what's happening with him, you know, he's not always eating those sandwiches. He's putting them up. He's putting them in his bag. And I was surprised by the amount of people that caught that.
The reason why we're talking right now, and you're an actor and you're in Hollywood, but the reason why we're talking is because we have a connection, and our connection is that we're both from Berkeley, California, and when I reached out to you, you were like, "Yeah, I'm from Berkeley. I represent Berkeley. I bleed red and gold from Berkeley High." We spoke a couple different times, and the reason why you're talking to me now is because we probably have that connection. Tell us a little bit about where you're from, and take us back to being a kid in Berkeley and growing up, and then of course tell us some of the friends that you had from.
Yeah, so you know, I was born in St. Louis, Missouri. I think I was about six or so or something like that. And my mom, you know, we moved to Oakland. My sister came and, you know, she was with us, so we all became this family unit. And they were like, yeah, a lot of stuff going on in Oakland. I won't go into that. And they were like, yeah, we need to get these kids out here, get them to Berkeley. It'll be better for them in Berkeley coming up. So they got a little house in Berkeley, and I came to Berkeley like in about the third grade, and to a school called Washington Elementary School. It was right across the street from Berkeley High. And that was my first foray. And Berkeley was different right away. And one real important thing about Berkeley, one real important thing is that's where I found me, myself. We moved again in Berkeley, moved to another part of Berkeley, and I went to Franklin. And Franklin was me. Franklin was my niche. Franklin was my that was my again my coming out thing was at Franklin. It was when I started really expressing myself. I started thriving.
And why do you think you started thriving there as opposed to at a different school? Was it the people?
One thing, and you may know this too, you may have been a part of this. Berkeley had a high potential program during that time, and it was a college prep thing, you know, connected to UC Berkeley. So you could get tested, and if you tested high, there was money that was actually put into programs for kids to do an educational thing that was a little above them, so to speak. We were assigned to read these books. And then we had to make a board game from, a board game. Man, how cool. I mean, you're in the 5th grade. It's
Cool.
like, what? Yeah. Like, you're going to make a game like Monopoly, but it's off of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. So
Perfect.
there's a bridge and maybe the dragon is over there. You couldn't get, that cave, all this stuff. Another assignment we had was to go up to Tilden Park and make a movie. So we made a movie, The $6 Million Man or something, and interesting. And I was the actor, and everybody chose. It was really funny. I don't know how that came about.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
the school system was meeting your educational needs with
yeah,
things like activities and creativity and
yeah,
acting. And so these are the small things that probably got you into where you are today. How about some of these friends from school? Because I
yeah.
know you had a lot of them.
So that's probably why I'm where I'm at today. Because of an unlikely friend. You talk about a friend, let's say an unlikely friend. So that was this boy, this little, I'm gonna call it a little white boy from the hills. And he was very, number one, I think people found him somewhat strange looking. At that time, our kids were back. He kind of had a big head. It was something, I don't know, square, something the kids found. He's weird, right? And he was socially awkward. He was a really smart kid. And, he was horrible athletic wise and just kind of a mess. So he got bullied. I didn't like bullying. Did not like it. I didn't. At that age, I thought something about bullying that I thought was cowardly. So this kid got bullied just about by everybody. I mean, so he was the essential non-cool kid. But what caught my attention with this kid is he turned me on to Star Trek. Star Trek was not on my radar until I started talking to this dude. He's talking about Klingons and something. What the hell is that? I didn't know what he was talking about. And he was trying to explain it. So I went and watched this thing and was like, hey, I kind of liked that Captain Kirk dude, all that. It was a beautiful black woman, looked like my auntie was on it. Oh, okay. Black people on here too? Yeah, I'm good. I'm like, hey, I'm going to watch this. I started playing with this kid a bit, and because I liked him, I'm like, well, they're missing a side to him because this side, when this side comes out, he's really, but nobody wanted anything to do with them. So in sports, when we had PE and, all this stuff, we had those kickball tournaments, where class against class and, 4th grade against 5th grade and 6th grade, all that stuff. So, we were real serious about kickball, man.
Totally.
So he's an automatic out. He can't kick the ball past the pitcher. I said, hey, let me ask the PE teacher this. Can I kick for him? And then he runs the back. He's going to do it. I'm just going to kick. He's going to do the running. It's his ups. Let me kick for him. Is that good if he's okay with it? The teacher's like, yeah. And of course, the other kids, that's unfair. No, what's unfair about it? He running, I ain't running, I'm just kicking. So I kicked for him, never thought this meant anything. And this kid in this game, he ran around, and I just kicked it in the alley, one of them alleys, and he went out. He was this very slow kid and all that, and they got the ball back in, but he scored. When it was the winning run, and everybody picked him up, not me, and he got to be the hero. And he was never the hero, physically athletic for any. He never would imagine in a million years anything like that would ever happen to him. So it was such a huge thing to him. For me, I probably forgot about it as soon as our school was over that day and I got home. The only reason why I remember the story now is because this is what happened. He went and told his mother all about it. And he was like, oh, this great kid, Hansford, and he did that. And she's like, tell me some more about this kid, Hansford. So he did. So one day we had a principal or, director from another school was coming to Franklin, to our school, to show a movie. And, didn't really say why. Didn't tell us why. So this woman comes and she shows this movie. And when I tell you it's bad, Chairman, I'm like, you got to be kidding. You're going to show us a movie like this? You know how Berkeley is. I started clowning the movie. And everybody's laughing. I'm like, oh, shit, okay. So I got on the roll, and nobody was telling me to shut up. Are you kidding? You going to let me get on the roll? Oh, man, I had everybody on oh, God, laid out laughing. And then it was like
Okay.
the movie ended right when it was time for recess, right on there. And the teacher said, okay, so everybody can go out except for Hansford. I'm like, God damn it, I knew it. Why didn't I shut up? Why did I take it that far? They wasn't stopping me. I should have shut up. Now I'm going to go home and I'm going to get a whooping. And get my ass whooped because of this. Clowning too much and they got me, And
Okay.
so now here I am. I'm ready for my teacher says, this is, and I was introduces the lady, and actually she is Vincent's mother. This kid, Vincent, right? Yeah, he's the kid who, yeah, Vincent. And she said, he's told me so much about you. And what would he tell her about me and why? I didn't understand at all. My teacher said, she's a talent scout. Do you know what that means? How would I know what a talent scout is? I didn't know. I didn't know what it, I think what was I? I was in the 5th grade. Yeah. So what are you, 10? She said, here, let me talk to him. Let me tell him. So she said, Hansford, you watch movies and things? Yeah, I watch movies, of course. Like, who didn't? And she said, well, they're acting. Yeah, they're acting. Right, I understood that. She said, do you think that's something you would like to do? Now, there's a question for you. I thought about it and said, yeah. I could have very easily said no, but yeah popped up instead of no. I don't know why. So she said, do you mind if I tell your mother, how great and what a great young man and kid and blah, 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 all this stuff? And I'm thinking, would I mind if this lady who's an educator calls my mother and tells her how great I am? Are you kidding me? Yes, please. Can you do that like now? Like, man, are you kidding me? Of course. And so they were like, okay, well, you can go out to recess. And I realized at that time I wasn't in trouble. I was like, wow. And I looked and it was only like 2 minutes had passed by or something. So all kind of recess left. Yeah, a week later, I'm playing. I forgot all about it. My mother calls me with that Hansford, this call, like, I'm in trouble. Uh-oh. And I'm thinking, what did I do? Oh, was it that window I broke? Did she find out about that? Was it that? Oh, man, was it that dog I kicked? What was it that I did? Right? And she said, hey, by the way, did some lady at the school tell you that you were ready to... And I'm thinking, lady at a school, stranger. No, not me. I don't talk to strangers. No lady. I don't talk to ladies, strangers. What do you mean? And she said, no lady talked to you, it came to your class, talked to you about acting? Oh, yeah, that lady. Right. Okay, well, she works for a place, the talent scout for a place called Hardcore Grace Jovanovich. Yeah, they have some kind of educational film thing at this man, Francis Ford Coppola, at his building, his place. You know him? Kind of think maybe, just say, yeah, these people are coming Saturday and, to meet you. So my mother had me put on my church clothes, I thought my best church clothes. And she cooked all this food. And these people came, and it was the strangest these people who were strangers I never met in my life sat here and told my mother how great I was. So my mother started doing that mother stuff. You know, he started walking at 7 months, and he was talking before uh, and I'm just sinking down in the seat, and they were like, "You can see, because he's the smartest kid we've ever seen in our lives," and all that. And I'm like, "What is going on? This is just like it was like torture."
You couldn't do anything wrong, could you, Hansford? You had everything going for you in that moment. Moms liked you. These white people liked you.
Moms and cooked up the favorite food and pies and all that. And boy, they got her going, and she's in this great mood. I'm like, okay. So then they left, and she said, "Okay, boy, now get out of those clothes and put on your play clothes." I was like, "Oh, we." Put on my other clothes, and I ran outside, and nobody asked me a question because nobody knew. After that, Mom's again, I had to dress up again. Yeah, we got to go and sign contracts. Really?
So you were a child actor, a childhood actor. And you got discovered because you basically befriended a kid who had low status. You had high status because you were a popular kid who could play sports. You defended him. He turned you on to stuff that he liked. You were just being human and a good guy. Nothing really that special, but you got
Yeah, just
discovered
being a
by
kid.
somebody just being a kid. And that's an incredible story for so many reasons, because it's just these small moments that lead to other things.
Did you go to
I
Willard?
did.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. You're
did.
right.
Yep.
You went to the soft school, right? So we went to
Ah,
we went we went to the
we
criminal
would say it
school.
different. We would say you guys we were the greasers and you were the socias.
See, see how everybody had that all mixed up. But that's why those games were so crazy, man. There was almost like King and Willard. There was almost like riots after every game. I mean,
It's a rivalry, and it's a crosstown rivalry. We're all from Berkeley, but we have a crosstown rival.
because we were in junior high, which is the most immature time, and you're more mature in elementary school than you are in junior high. Junior high, you
Well,
just lose your mind somehow. I don't know what it is. You know, that puberty
but
stuff.
I think in junior high, we start to create identities, and so we have to connect with who we are, and it's very tribal to be like, I am from Willard, I'm from King, and it's to belong with who the people who are in your spot. You have to other people. You have to say they're not in our crew. Our crew is this crew. You're over there. These are all identities that people take on. They're constructs, but these are very human experiences that happen all over the place. And they actually contribute to a lot of violence, to a lot of othering, to a lot of us and them. And that's why Willard and King were about to, fight each other, because at that point in your life, you have to belong.
Also was another thing, and to get through King, and Willard probably was similar, but to get through King, you had to buddy up, man. You had to have a buddy.
Yep.
It was the buddy system, because you had to have somebody who was willing to fight at your back. I don't care who you, what you were. So that became me and Keith. Me and Keith Johnson became partners. So because the thing was, you mess with him, you got to mess with me. As you say, with that, there also was this thing, man, where we came from. Some circles was considered a bit sissy-ish, you know, playing tennis, arts, and them little tennis shorts, and cats could think you was soft. So, the arts, you could be soft. So I had my boy Keith, I brought him into doing the plays. I mean, hey, come take drama, because I had to do it because of that hardcore breaks thing. Remember? So I wanted my boy in there with me because, there's a lot of drama kids. They different. They ain't the cool kids. Now we got in there. So we're doing this play, The Crucible, right? And The Crucible is witchcraft and 16th century, 17th century Salem, witchcraft, all that stuff. It's a, you know, really dark play with lots of undertones of, where politics could be kind of today. All that fascism and oh my God, this was to the 10th degree. Of course, in doing this, Miss Washburn is putting this play on. These kids can handle it. So she's got us in these pilgrim costumes, right? Okay. We gonna parade around King, all the kids got to come out of class and watch us parade in pilgrim costumes. I said, that ain't gonna go over good. In this particular school, I know this school, I know these idiots, and I don't want to be out there when it happens because it's gonna be bad, and I don't want to be a part of it. Me and my boy Keith, we watched it. We were in the bushes, hiding in the bushes in the little courtyard. So they came out in that shit and got clowned. Oh my God! Everybody was, woo, goodness gracious, and we were safely in the bushes watching it all, away from it. Nobody knew we were even in drama.
You protected your status. You were navigating maybe two worlds here. You were navigating the status of being a kid who was a sports person who wanted to maintain that status, and then but one of your passions was being in the performing arts department, and you even got your buddy Keith to come over and be with you so you could have a friend in that whole thing. But then you didn't want to risk the status of the other playground kids. And they talk, I think they're emblematic of how children have to navigate school grounds and status in general.
Yeah, we were two cool cats who were sports dudes, but sports and drama, that didn't mix. So those two, there wasn't a sports guy who was also the lead in the school play. So we were doing something a little bit different, and then as I got more into the quarterback thing and all that, I wanted to concentrate on that more. So I went away from acting at that point.
So you took your talents to the football field, it seems.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like I would get these jobs, man.
After high school? These were all the jobs you had after?
After high school.
So you had a bunch of different kinds of jobs, but then you still had acting in you.
And I would always, so the funny part is I would always get some play. I'd have this job, and I'd get it in some play, and it'd be some big play in San Francisco. It'd be like, yeah, I kind of forgot about acting. I don't think it's gonna go anywhere. And then I would get this thing, and then it would come in conflict with the real job I had. There was a review in the San Francisco Chronicle, and there was it happened to be the front page of the entertainment section, and they picked our play. And there I was with my co-star at the time, and we were in this big picture, and it was this love story. And this asshole put, "A star is born." He could snitch on me. It was his way of snitching on me. And they called me into the office, and they said, "You can't do this." I said, "Hey, there's only 5 more weeks of this play going on, so if I can get..." And they said, "No, but what happens is we're actually scheduling you from 2 to 10 during that particular time." I said, "The show starts at 8 o'clock and goes at 10. Exactly. That's why we're scheduling you during that time." So this man said to me, I've heard stories about people that were saying if they were serious about acting, There came a time where they had to choose between the job they were doing or to go on with acting. He leaned back in the chair and said, I guess this is that time for you, huh? Yeah. Welcome to the real world. So, yeah, I quit. Y'all gonna have to cancel this show because that would have been the end of my career. But did I really have a career? That was the thing. I was like, am I really going to get anywhere with this? So I was in a dilemma. And people told me how stupid I was, which it was kind of stupid to give away that government job with retirement, the whole 9 yards. And you're giving that up to go do something where you're making $175 a week. Like, have you lost your mind? But for me, man, so honestly, man, coming to LA, it's like people have to understand something. Business is business. It's like anything. It doesn't matter what business you're in. When you move, you're going from one market to another market. Whatever your business is, you're now in this market, wherever. I'm in the LA market now, not in San Francisco market. It was literally like, being 40-something years old and starting all over again. Starting all over. It was kind of because nobody in this market knew me. And let's face it, I came from stage, but not from Broadway.
So you
Yeah.
basically started your Hollywood acting career in your 40s.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Wow. And so how old are you now?
62, 63.
Okay, so you've been there about 20 years. What's it been like
Yeah.
to be in Hollywood trying to make a living as an actor
So
in
it's
those last
interesting.
20 years?
I met this agent, the manager, and this guy Clarence Cheatham, and we met. And he told me this, and I'm telling you, just about verbatim, it happened. It's going to take 10 years for people in this town to know who you are, and then it's going to take 5 years for you to start to get anywhere with them. And then it's going to take another 5 years after that to start working. So he's like, it's going to take 20 years before, you start to get somewhere. And if you're willing to do that and you're already 40, so yeah, that was the task in front of me. I don't know if I all the way believe that, but yeah, that's pretty much how it works. And that's if people finally get to know who you are, which for the most part doesn't happen.
I think to your point, Hansford, you had to actually spend time continuing to work and just do the dirty work all the time and stay in the game for 20 years before you start getting roles that you could really sustain yourself with.
Yeah.
Wow. I think that's emblematic, truthfully, of anything that's worth doing. It takes a lot longer than people want to generally give to be successful in probably most businesses, but especially acting, I'm sure.
It takes a while for people to know who you are and then what you do. So what you can help is to understand exactly what it is that you do and to communicate that to the producers, casting directors, agents, and all that of the world so they know what to do with you. The problem is a lot of times is you don't know. So it takes kind of a little while to know what your niche is, what your thing is, what it is that you do. I had a producer, I wanted to slap the shit out of his ass, to tell you the truth. I thought, what a pretentious little fucking thing. Because he said to me, okay, so what do you do? What is it that you tell me? What do you do? And I'm like, what do I do? Like, the fuck is he talking about? What does that even mean, what I do? This was some kind of interview. And I'm like trying to understand, like, look, dude, I mean, I'll act for you and do some, but you asking me some stupid shit that I don't, but actually, he wasn't. He was telling me how the business worked, and I didn't know. He's saying, you got a minute or two of my time. I'm giving you my time. Here it is. So what the hell is it that you do? Because this 327,000 other bald head black dudes that look just like you in this town doing this. So what do you do?
It's such a great story. So to really find your niche in any kind of business, in any, and especially in acting, is to really be able to have a relationship with yourself and to understand what makes you unique, what makes me me, and be able to say that to somebody else quickly.
If somebody was thinking about bankrolling your podcast and saying, hey, Chandler, you know, I'm meeting with a lot of different podcasters because I'm looking for one podcast. I don't know what it is, but whatever. But I'm looking for something. I know it when I see it. And I'm going to take that one to the next level. With all that in mind, Chandler, tell us, what is it about you and your podcast is different? What do you do? What is it? Tell me about it.
I love it. It's great advice, not just to me, but to anybody trying to do anything, Hansford.
Yeah.
Why are you passionate about this thing? And I can tell you why I'm passionate about this to answer that question. Because when I grew up in Berkeley, California, Hansford, my community made me feel like I belonged. When I came back to Berkeley and I landed back and did my graduate work and became a psychologist, I said, I'm home. This is where I belong. These are the people that I belong with. And anybody who's from this place, I belong with. And the people from this place, I believe, represent who I am. When I was sitting around with all these people that from high school 40 years later, and we were all picking up from where we left off, and all these people had these amazing stories. They went off and did these amazing things, like Hansford Prince goes to Hollywood and becomes an actor, Earl of Sandwich in the Pitt. I was like, somebody's got to do something, write something about this place and these people. You got stories. I got stories. We got people that have uplifted us and made us who we are today. And that's what I think this Hometown Friend podcast is all about, is everybody's got a story to tell, and I want to hear them all. Well, let's wrap up, because I want to let you go. Obviously, your career is taking off. And I love the fact that you are now getting, after 20 years in Hollywood, you're getting recognition, but that you still maintain this real connection to where you're from. And that, I think, is what this podcast is all about, is that no matter how far you go away, there's always these roots that root us to where we're from. And some people don't like where they're from, but you and I, we rep where we're from. And that brings us together. And I love that. And I love that we're able to talk today. So thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, so, you know, I'm a yellow jacket for life. You know, I bleed that red and gold, you know, former quarterback. Some of y'all remember some of them touchdowns I used to run. Y'all remember that? Yeah. Right? Remember Skyline, Fremont? Some of the best days of my life were, you know, right there at Berkeley High. And doing, like I said, I think Oliver in particular, probably the best play I ever been in my life, including the professional plays. And I did that as a kid. Are you kidding me?
And by the way, you and I talked about, when you come home, we're going to have a sandwich together. I'm going to take you to my favorite sandwich spot, La Cholita Linda.
And I told you what kind of how I like my sandwich, baby. So let's do it.
Yeah, I got you. Thanks for listening to this episode of Hometown Friends. Hearing Hansford's story of his unlikely friendship with a kid named Vincent is such a great example of how a simple human connection can change us forever, and how childhood experiences in particular can lead us to unexpected life paths. Hansford learned that he could use his own high status in athletics to protect his friend from getting bullied and provide him with the opportunity to feel the exuberance of being a kickball hero. These experiences can literally change a child's life, and we see that it changed Hansford's. Although we don't really know what it meant to Vincent, we do know that Vincent told his mother about it, and that she used her status in her profession to reward Hansford and ultimately set in motion his love for performing. Research on how status affects childhood friendships indicates that popularity, social confidence, and kindness influence who is admired and who is marginalized. Will Storr's book, The Status Game, makes the claim that all humans are inherently wired to play this status game because of our connection to groups, tribes, or clans throughout human history. The desire to feel valued is extremely important, and we are all hardwired to seek status or feel the lack of it. Hansford's story reminds me of one of my favorite novels about friendship, and is called How Do You Live?, written by the Japanese writer Genzaburo Yoshino. This story is about the everyday social world of school children, and it explores the profound question: how do children navigate status and what happens when they choose connection over hierarchy? Through the main character Copper and his peers, the novel shows that status, so often a source of division, can instead become a path towards empathy, moral growth, and lasting friendships. In the novel, Copper is thoughtful and observant, and he's not the most dominant figure among his peers, yet he's deeply aware that he wants to belong. When a classmate becomes the target of exclusion and mistreatment, Copper fails to stand up for his friend, which reflects a common childhood struggle. The fear of losing social standing can override one's moral instinct. When a peer with high status stands up for this kid, Copper begins to critically examine the meaning of status and hierarchy as something contingent and often arbitrary. Copper realizes that hierarchy is less important than connection, and he experiences guilt. But he also experiences growth from witnessing this act of courage. He comes to understand that meaningful friendships come from seeing beyond the hierarchies, and that connection becomes possible not from shared status, but from mutual recognition. Acts of courage, such as standing up for classmates or admitting wrongdoing, create space for trust and foster deeper bonds than superficial popularity ever could. All children see differences, and when they learn to respond to them ethically, they learn humility and compassion and develop more resilient forms of friendship when grounded in respect rather than competition. The children's journey and How Do You Live ultimately reveal that status, while very powerful, is not fixed. It can be questioned, resisted, and redefined to open the door to genuine connection. The friendships that arise become meaningful precisely because they are chosen in defiance of hierarchy rather than dictated by it. The path to deep connection often begins with the courage to see our friends for their inherent worth. How might we all question status and hierarchy to open ourselves up to more human connection? Do you have a friendship story that relates to this social issue? If so, please leave us a comment or send us an email. And if you like this episode, please leave a review, share with others, and subscribe to our channels. Also, consider making a tax-deductible donation to our nonprofit organization, Tribe One. This will support this podcast and other friendship initiatives. Stay tuned and stay connected.
We fall down, but we get up.